Good evening, all. As no one has joined till now, I will wait for 10 minutes and then start the session by 6:10 p.m. Good evening, all. Welcome to the week 11 session of Biomass Conversion and Biorefinery. The course coordinator for this course is Professor Kosto Monti from the Department of Chemical Engineering, IIT Guwahati, and I am Aryan Thaujja, your today's TA, who is doing PhD in the Department of Paper Technology, IIT Roorkee, and working under the guidance of Professor Vibhor Kumar Asturi, Department of Paper Technology, IIT Roorkee. So, before moving on, uh, I will give you a brief about me. I have done my BTech in Chemical Engineering from Bipin Tripathi Kumar Institute of Technology, Torhat, and then I did my MTech from Packaging Technology from IIT Roorkee, where I worked on development of packaging for pomegranate arils. And after that, I am now pursuing PhD from the Department of Paper Technology, IIT Roorkee, in the Paper Technology Department. Currently, I am receiving Minister Research Fellowship from 2021 to present, and I am working on the project paper-based value-added products as a part of my PhD project at IIT Roorkee. So today we will discuss first about the week 11 assignments of 2023, which you have already submitted, and we will get to know the what for the correct answer of it and what is the theory behind it. And further, we will discuss few concepts which will help you to solve the questions of week 12 assignments. So let's start with assignment 11 of 2023. The building blocks of synthesis of commodity organic chemical synthesis gas, the light olefin, ethylene, propylene, butadiene, and BTX. So the question is that the biomass can be utilized to produce some type of chemical gases such as olefins, ethylene, propylene, butadiene, and BTX. And the question is, what process do we need to go through so that we can obtain these gases from the biomass? So the correct answer for this is thermochemical conversions. So there are four types of different thermochemical conversions, and we can perform any of these to achieve the desired gases such as ethylene, propylene, butadiene, or BTX. So here is an example of how this biomass can be converted to these gases. So generally there are four types of thermochemical processes such as combustion, gasification, pyrolysis, and liquefaction. We all know that combustion can produce heat and power, and thus it is the final stage that we cannot utilize this anymore. But there are three things which can make up something which can be utilized to produce uh, these olefin gases. So, in a gasification process, we take the biomass and treat it at temperature of 600 degrees Celsius to 1300 degrees Celsius in the presence of oxygen. So in gasification, oxygen is present and thermal treatment is done in between the temperature of 600 to 1300. And by this, we get is what is known as fuel gases. These fuel gases can be further upgraded by some reactions to produce liquid biofuels or methane or hydrogen or any other uh, liquid fuels. Similarly, by pyrolysis, pyrolysis is a method to obtain biochar. We all know that low temperature pyrolysis, low temperature pyrolysis (LTP) can be done at 200 to 900 degrees Celsius, and it is mostly done in inert environment, or we can say in absence of oxygen. And in this, we get is what is known as char. This biochar, because it is obtained from biomass, so we call it biochar. And after the gasification of this, we will do again gasification. Like here we get biochar, now we will do the gasification. Again we will get the fuel gases as we have obtained from the previous. Similarly, if we do the liquefaction process, that is we treat it at the temperature of 200 to 400 degrees Celsius and apply a pressure, a very high pressure of 220 to 200 bar of pressure. During this process, we do not get char, we will get some high viscous oil, which is also known as bio oil. So this is biooil which we get, and this biooil can again be gasified to form fuels. So in a way, what we are doing is we are converting the biomass to fuel gases, so that these fuel gases can be utilized to make olefins or BTX in these compounds. So therefore, thermochemical process. These all are thermochemical processes. So thermochemical processes are needed to do on the biomass to produce olefins and BTX. So now we'll discuss about the second question. One of the unique reaction of what is known as 19th century is cyclodehydration to yield furfurances. So you might have remembered what are furfurances from the week earlier week's lecture. In that we studied about the hemicellulosis. That when we break a hemicellulose, which is a polymer, to a soluble compound, which is a monomer, then during this process, sometimes we in a side reaction we sometimes get is known as furfurances, and this is due to the dehydration of these soluble monomers. So I hope that you might have remembered what were these soluble monomers. These were pentosans. So hemicellulose, we do the addition of water, hydrolysis of hemicellulose to produce pentosan. But sometimes the dehydration of pentosans causes the formation of furfurances. So furfurances are some important chemical compound which we require for different purposes, not for energy, uh, not for biofuel or energy means. We need it for different purposes such as to produce resin or plastics or adhesives. So in this way, furfurances are created from pentosans. So this is a typical reaction when we do when if we take the in first we will take the biomass and we will treat this biomass so that we can separate cellulose, lignin, and hemicellulose. And these hemicelluloses are then hydrolyzed to convert them into pentosans, which are the monomers of hemicellulose, or we can also say that these are soluble form of hemicellulose. And this is done by hydrolysis. But during this process, if dehydration occurs, then we will get is what is known as furfural. So furfural are typically produced from biomass feedstock through the process of biomass conversion, such as thermochemical or biochemical process, which involve degradation or transformation of biomass into furfural and other valuable chemicals. So it is the fuel which we make is from the pentosan. We cannot make fuel from furfural, but we can make some other valuable chemicals out of these. Now moving on to the third question. The two principal furans from which many derivatives are available are tetrahydrofuran and tetrahydrofurfural alcohol, both of which are manufactured from. So, tetrahydrofuran and tetrahydrofurfural alcohol, THF and THFA. These are very useful solvents which are used in industries very widely. And to make these solvents, these are also known as furans, FURANs. And to make these furans, we require furfuranls. So furfuranls are dehydrated to form these solvents. Sorry, hydrogenated to form. These are hydrogenated to form furans. So if we take the hemicellulose and do the hydrolysis, we get is xylose, which are known as pentosans. And if we do the dehydration, we get is furfuranls. But these furfuranls, if we do the hydrogenation of it, that is the addition of hydrogen, we get is what is known as tetrahydrofuran, furfural alcohol, or tetrahydrofurfural. And many, these all are known as furans. So what we get is many types of furans. So furfurals, so we require biomass to make hemicellulose, and we require hemicellulose to create furfurals, and we then need furfurals to make different furans, which are of valuable chemicals in different types of industries. Therefore, the utilization of biomass can be done to in these ways also. Now, let's see the fourth question. Vitamin C or L-ascorbic acid. So L-ascorbic acid is a type of acid which is known as vitamin C, and we all know vitamin C rich sources. Any type of citrus fruit is a very good source of vitamin C. So citrus fruits have what chemical? It has L-ascorbic acid. So, but how can we produce this L-ascorbic acid? We know that we can obtain these from citrus fruit, but how to produce them synthetically? So the question is about this only, that what is the best example of commercial derivative of what that is manufactured primarily by chemical synthesis? So the correct answer is glucose. So glucose are needed to convert into cyclic glucose, and these cyclic glucose are then converted to L-ascorbic acids. So in this way, we can get is what is known as vitamin C. And how do we obtain this glucose? We will obtain this from biomass. So in this way, we can convert any biomass, any carbohydrate-rich biomass, into L-ascorbic acids. So vitamin C is a commercially derivative of D-glucose that is primarily manufactured by chemical synthesis. And what is glucose? Glucose is a monosaccharide, or simply sugar, which is the starting material for the production of L-ascorbic acid. So the biomass contains cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, and when these cellulosic biomass are treated, or we do the hydrolysis, what we get is a monomer, and that monomer is known as glucose. So by cellulose, we can get glucose, and this glucose is a straight chain, and we can convert it into cyclic glucose. And after obtaining the cyclic glucose, the oxidation, that is the addition of OH or oxygen to it, we can obtain is what is known as ascorbic acid, also known as vitamin C. So, the synthesis of L-ascorbic acid from D-glucose typically involves multiple steps, including oxidation, reduction, and other chemical transformation. Different chemical routes and methods can be used to maintain L-ascorbic acid, and various synthetic approaches have been developed and optimized over time to achieve higher yields and purity. So, in this way, we can produce with vitamin C from the glucose. Now, let's see the fifth question. So, what are sold for a variety of industrial and specialty application, including adhesive, binder, dispersing emulsifier, cement, gypsum, and these things. So we know that adhesives, binders, these two can be produced from furfural. When we do the polymerization of furfurals, we get is what we known as adhesives and binders. But furfuras cannot be act as a dispersing agent or emulsifier or in cement or gypsum. Second is glucose. We know that glucose, what is it? It is a type. It is a water soluble monomer, and we cannot use it for as a in cement manufacturing to provide its strength. Glucose cannot be used. For furans, we know that it cannot be used, and lactose is all cannot we cannot use for cement. Uh, we cannot use it as a filler in a cement. The option which we remain is lignins. So lignin is a complex, very complex compound which uh, is obtained from the biomass, and it is a very sticky substance. These lignins are very sticky substance, and these are type of a polymer which somewhat have hydrophobic property, and thus it also has OH bonds. It also has hydrophobic property, so these can be used as an emulsifier. Because emulsifier, we need both compounds, non-polar and polar. So we get non-polar and polar both, and it is a sticky substance, so we can use it as adhesive and binder. Moreover, it provides a very good strength. If we use this lignin into a polymer or any other cement or any paper, if we reinforce the lignin in polymer, cement, or paper, we can get a very good uh, high strength material. So therefore, lignin has a very vast utilization in various different applications. So this is an overview of lignin, that where it is used and how it is used. So lignin can be used as a dispersing agent and in applications such as carbon black pigments and dye, so that these can be dispersed easily in solvents. It also has a very good binding and adhesive property, so it can be used for printing material also, because so that the printing ink can be binded on the polymer or paper substrate. Also, if we use this lignin and copolymerize it with some chemicals such as urea formaldehyde or fuels or epoxy dyes, we can get what is known as copolymers of lignin. So we can get a new polymers also from lignin. Further, these lignins can be also used in agriculture areas by utilizing them in insecticides, herbicides, or pesticides. Moreover, these also act as a stabilizing or emulsifying agent, and thus it can be used in soil and road surface or asphalts. And it is also used as an additive in concrete, cement grinding, and polymer composites, so that we can get very high uh, strength material. Moreover, these lignins are can be converted into uh, some plastics or some polymers that have fire retardant property, as these do not catch fire, so these can be utilized for textile coatings, so that they can be used for fire, uh, the people who are working in fire extinguishers or fire safety. And it also can be used to produce some special chemicals such as vanillin and DMSO. And finally, these can be converted to some other materials such as carbon fibers, because it is made up of carbon. So every carbon material can be made into carbon fibers. So in this way, we see that lignins can be utilized in various forms and to produce various things. So it is of interest of industry, and it the abundance of it due to the presence of biomass, it can be the next future material. Now moving on to the sixth question. A 4 carbon dicarboxylic acid is one of the end product of anaerobic fermentation and also an intermediate of TCA cycle. So the answer for this is succinic acid. Succinic acid is the end production of anaerobic fermentation. When we do the anaerobic fermentation of a biomass, we get as a end product which is known as succinic acid. Also, the TCA cycle, the intermediate of this is also succinic acid. So this is a typical TCA cycle, and in this we can produce succinate or succinate acid, and this is an intermediate product of this. Now let's move on to the seventh question. What can also be used to synthesize cellulose butyrate plastics for textile fiber production? So, cellulose butyrate. First, what is the cellulose butyrate? Cellulose butyrate is a type of polymer of plastic, and it is made by the reaction of cellulose with butyric acid, and thus we get is what is known as cellulose butyrate. Cellulose butyrate is a very it is a thermoplastic material. It has a melting point. Has a melting point. It is not like cellulose, which is not a thermoplastic. It does not. It is a polymer, but it is not a plastic. But cellulose butyrate is a plastic, so we can convert the polymer into plastic by reacting it with butyric acid. And these butyric acids are very brittle, rigid, and we can also do some modification of it to produce flexible fibers. And these flexible fibers then can be converted to produce textile fiber. So in this way, we can produce butyric acid. We can produce textile fiber from cellulose. Therefore, the answer for this is butyric acid. So, what is cellulose butyrate? Cellulose butyrate is a cellulose ester that is formed by chemically modifying cellulose with butyric acid, and it is a type of thermoplastic material, that is, it can be melted easily. It has a melting point, and it is also known for its high transparency, excellent toughness, and good chemical resistance. It is chemically resistant to most chemicals. It is cannot be dissolved in water, as we know that cellulose are hygroscopic materials. So cellulose can absorb water. So cellulose can absorb water, and it can also absorb most of the polar solvents such as ethanol, butanol, and it also absorbs many non-polar solvents like heptane and toluene. But cellulose butyrate, the plastic which is obtained by reacting it with butyric acid, is not like it. It has a very good chemical resistance. It is highly, it is non-hygroscopic, that it cannot absorb water, and and it cannot absorb any kind of solvent. Moreover, it is a type of hydrophobic polymer, and it is resistant to most chemicals such as acetic acid, ethanol, butane, and water. And moreover, it is highly transparent. Therefore, it can be used for wide variety of applications such as coatings. It can be used to produce barrier coatings particularly, uh, like water barrier coating, as it is a hydrophobic. So cellulose butyrate can be coated over the paper to form hydrophobic paper. It can be used to produce films, polymeric films, which can be used in various applications such as packaging. It can be also used to produce fibers, and these fibers can be used in textile products, and finally it can be used to produce molded products. So in this way we can produce uh, environmental friendly and bio-based polymers by bio-based plastics by the utilization of biomass. And how it is formed? So it is formed by butyric acid, which is used as an acetyling agent to modify cellulose, resulting in cellulose butyrate. So in this way we can get cellulose butyrate. So now moving on to the next question. What are gram-positive, chemo-organotropic, and strict anaerobics and spore formers? So among these, Clostridium species are the gram-positive bacteria, and these are strict anaerobics, means that it can survive in the absence of oxygen. If there is no oxygen, then it can survive. Chemoorganotropic means that I will explain this in the next slide. So now moving on to the ninth question. What is commercial interest as an anti-freeze agent due to its low freezing point and as a feedstock for the fermentation of methylethene ketone by dehydration, which can be used as a liquid form. So methylethene ketone, also known as MEK. Among these, what can be used to produce MEK by dehydration? So the answer is butanediol. So butanediol has a freezing point of minus 60 degrees Celsius, and therefore it is also used as antifreeze agent. Methanol also is antifreeze agent, and it can be, because it also has a uh, melting point of minus 80 to minus 90. But the dehydration of methanol does not result in MEK. So the answer for this is butadiene, because they asked, the question was on formation of MEK by dehydration. So this is a particular typical reaction of dehydration. So if we have butanediol and if we do the dehydration of it, that is the removal of water, then this OH and this H gets removed and the presence of double bond comes here. So in this way, we get is what is known as MEK, and as a side product we get H2O. This is known as dehydration. So in this way, we can obtain MEK from butanediol. But apart from this, we can also obtain three different types of compounds, which are useful for many types of industries, and those are acetone, which can be obtained by dehydrogenation, that is the removal of hydrogen. If we remove the hydrogen from it, that is only one H, then the formation of double bond is there and OH is present here, then we get is what is known as acetone. And further, if we do the esterification of it, that is, we know that these are alcohols. So what is, first of all, what is esterification? Esterification means that reaction of alcohol and carboxylic acids for the formation of esters. So we have an alcohol here. So alcohol means OH bonds, and carboxylics. Alcohol means OH bond, and carboxylic means COOH bond. And we require carboxylic acid such as acetic acid. We can get acetic acid also. We can also take butyric acid. These both are types of carboxylic acid. So if we use these uh, carboxylic acids to esterify the alcohols in the presence of slight acetic uh, catalyst, then we get is what is known as butanediol diester. And these can be used as a plasticizing agent also in many plastics. These can be used as a plasticizing agent. Plasticizing agent means those materials which are used to increase the flexibility of a material. For example, the bottle from which we drink water is made up of PET polymer. And also you might have seen some plastic sheets in some shops which are used to cover the door for good ventilation. Those sheets are PVC sheets. So these PVC sheets and PET polymer are very stiff and rigid. So these can be made flexible by using some kind of esters such as butanediol and butanediol diester, and also these can be used uh, as a starting material for production of other valuable compounds. So in this way, butanediol can be used to produce MEK, acetone butadiene ketal, acetone, and butanediol diester. Now moving on to the last question. The genera Clostridium, Butyribacterium, and Butyrivivula are the most studied for what? So these three are a types of bacteria, and these are mostly strict anaerobics. That is, it can survive in the absence of oxygen also. And these bacteria or these microorganisms can be used to produce butyric acid. We have also said earlier that how we are producing cellulose butyric. So cellulose butyric, we studied that it was formed with the reaction of cellulose and butyric acid. So cellulose we can get from the biomass, as the biomass has lignin, hemicellulose, and cellulose. And this butyric acid, this we can get from microorganisms. So these microorganisms such as Clostridium species, Butyribacterium, and Butyrivibrio, these three can be used to produce butyric acid, which can be then further utilized to produce cellulose butyric for textile applications. So Clostridium species is a genus that includes various species known for the ability to produce endospores and highly resistant structure that allow the bacteria to survive adverse conditions such as lack of oxygen. And some species of Clostridium are also chemoorganotropic. In previous slide also, we have seen about the question. There was a question about among these what are strict anaerobics and chemoorganotropic. So the answer was Clostridium. So, what are these chemoorganotropic? So, chemoorganotropic bacteria means that those species that can obtain energy, by metabolizing organic compounds. So, they take the organic compounds and metabolize them to obtain energy, in the absence of oxygen. So these are known as chemoorganotropic species. So Clostridium is a strict anaerobic and chemoorganotropic species, and similar these Clostridium species can be used to produce butyric acids and other microorganisms such as Butyrobacterium and Butyrobacterium. These two bacteria or microorganisms are also most ready to produce the butyric acid from the microorganisms. Now we will discuss about the uh, some concepts which you will be required to solve the week 12 assignments. So first is, what is sugar platform refinery, biorefinery? So first of all, what is before going towards sugar platform refinery, what is a biorefinery? So biorefinery concept means that to utilize the biomass in such a way that we can utilize it to produce either fuels or some chemicals or materials uh, which are of interesting use for industries. And in biorefinery concept, biomass typically uh, the raw material is a biomass, and we do some type of chemical or mechanical or enzymatic treatment on the biomass to produce fuels, chemicals, and materials. Different types of fuels, chemicals, and materials. And these fuels, chemicals, and materials can be of low volume, but they can be, but we can produce very different types of chemicals, fuels, and materials. So this is known as a biorefinery concept. Now, what is sugar platform biorefinery? So sugar platform biorefinery means to utilize sugars to produce some type of fuels, chemicals, or materials. Just as simple that. So in a sugar platform biorefinery, ethanol is typically produced from various types of feedstocks. We can give various types of feedstocks uh, such as starch or cellulose or any other things which are rich in carbohydrates. That and these feedstocks that are rich in carbohydrates can be converted into ethanol. Can be converted into ethanol through a series of biochemical reactions such as enzymatic hydrolysis of cellulose or starch or fermentation of sugars and distillation resulting in ethanol. So, what is sugar platform refinery? It is nothing but to produce fuels, chemicals, or some different materials from sugar. And what kind of fuel? Typically, we are talking about bioethanol. So, the production of bioethanol and different chemicals from sugar is known as sugar platform refinery. And what are the feedstock which can we can use? We need those biomasses which are rich in carbohydrate, such as starch, sugars, cellulose, anything which is highly rich in carbohydrates. So, if we take a carbohydrate rich biomass and we can produce some type of clean gas, which is known as syngas. Syngas, we know what it is, Ca plus H2, and this syngas can be used to power the plant. So, in order to produce bioethanol from sugar, we need some type of energy. So that for heating purposes, to work out the power plant. So we can produce clean gases such as syngas by thermochemical processes, and this syngas can be used as a fuel to produce ethanol from sugars. And simultaneously, the biomass will be sent to a sugar platform in which the enzymatic hydrolysis of cellulose will be done. And this hydrolysis of cellulose, the Hydrolysis of cellulose will result in the formation of sugars, and these sugars will be fermented to produce fuels. So in this way, we have produced fuels also, such as bioethanol, and we have utilized syngas for the production of fuels, and we also can obtain different types of chemicals and materials by thermochemical processes. So in this way, we can utilize sugar uh, to produce different types of chemicals. This is known as biorefinery approach or biorefinery concept. Now, what is ICBR technology? So, ICBR technology means that to utilize corn-based material for the production of ethanol. So, ICBR technology, what it does is it utilizes corn to produce ethanol, and this is done by similar way like we did in like we saw in sugar platform refinery. Just the thing is that in this process we can utilize every type of material of corn. We can utilize the whole corn, we can also utilize the corn stover, we can utilize any type of corn material. So if we have the whole corn, we can do the milling of it, produce smaller particles, and do the saccharification. Saccharification means to produce monomers of soluble sugar of it. And these soluble sugars can be fermented with the help of enzymes or microorganisms to produce ethanol. And during this process, we get different types of chemicals also. So we can do the distillation to purify the ethanol to produce high purity ethanol. And if we have any kind of corn stover, which is rich in lignins also, so these lignins will not help in these lignins will prevent the saccharification of the corn. So we have to remove these lignins from the corn stover. So what we do is we do the milling to produce smaller parts, and we do the pre-treatment. During this pre-treatment, we remove the lignin and hemicellulose from the biomass and obtain what is known as cellulose. And these cellulose then can be saccharified to form sugars, and then we can do the fermentation as we did earlier in case of corn, and do the distillation and produce high purity ethanol. So this is ICBR technology. ICBR technology can take the whole corn. It can take the corn kernels, corn stover, corn leaf, roots, every type of corn. As we it involves a stage known as pre-treatment. So this pre-treatment helps to remove the lignins and hemicellulose so that we can produce sugars and ethanol from the corns. In a similar manner, like we have seen for corn and starch, there is a similar biorefinery concept of soybean. So we can also produce biofuels from soybean by majorly four steps. So the first step is to crush it. We need to crush it. Similarly, to produce smaller size compounds so that we can process them. And then these crushed soybean seeds are then sent for extraction of oil. So the oil is extracted with the help of hexane. So hexane, what does it is? Hexane is used for removal of oils. Hexane can solubilize oils from with a very high content and due to its high solubility of oil. This process is also known as decumming. And after this, it goes for refining process. During this, the deacidification is done, which is also known as neutralization. Therefore, we get is what is known as neutralized oil, which is known as neutralization process. And after this neutralized oil, we do the bleaching of it, which is also known as clarification. So, after this clarification, what we get is pure oil without any type of color. We only get soybean oil. And this soybean oil are then deodorized. Deodorized means to remove smell or odor, bad odor from it. So these are then deodorized, and thus we can get what is known as refined oil. So the soybean oil which we use at home are converted from soybeans to soybean refined oil through these processes. So that's for today. I hope these three concepts and will help you to solve the week 12 questions. And we will meet you next week where we'll discuss about the week 12 answers and then also about a summary of the whole NPTEL session. Thank you.